New York Giants mock draft 2020, so this will be the first one I do. I probably expect to do maybe one or two more after this, at least one more. I mean, we're still like 2 months away from the draft, so I feel it'd be kind of dumb to do this as the last one. So probably in maybe April, I'll probably do another one. So this would be volume 1, I'll call it. So I did the first 6 rounds, I believe. We're still not positive on when the compensatory pick is exactly, and there's a couple of 7th round picks as well. But as I did last year, I didn't even do the 7th round picks because that's like me trying to predict the weather 6 months from now. We're not going to get it right. So Gettleman and the rest of the Giants war room can definitely handle that stuff. But I'll do the first 6 rounds for this mock draft. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I will admit I have not watched every single prospect from this class yet, but I've watched a good amount. So I feel like I have somewhat decent knowledge about this stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy this, and let's get into it. So my round 1 pick, number 4 overall, this is not including trades. I'm not going to get too technical into that. Obviously, I prefer the trade back, but I'm not going to get into all that right now. I'll probably do that for the second mock, though. So number 4 overall, Andrew Thomas, the left tackle, offensive tackle out of Georgia, 6'5", 320 pounds, an excellent run blocker, very good pass blocker, quick feet for a guy his size, good athleticism as well. Personally, don't believe Nate Solder is the guy at left tackle. I don't think he'll be as bad as last year, but I do think the Giants need an upgrade there. And Nate Solder is probably 31 years old now at this point, so not much. I'm not sure how much longer he'll be around for, and he'll probably be cut next year anyway because of the large cap hit. So the Giants need to start over at left tackle, in my opinion. I mean, people making debates about Isaiah Simmons. There's other guys here, Jedrick Wills, who I'm definitely fine with. Tristan Wirfs, who I'm like, I don't know about number 4 overall, but if the Giants traded back, I could definitely deal with him. Jeff Okudah, that's another option, but cornerback is kind of shaky. It's kind of hard to, predict who's going to be good out of the cornerback class. I would say Okudah is probably the best one in this class for sure, but the guy I want is Andrew Thomas. I mean, when I watched him, I said this on my last channel, for some reason he just popped off the screen to me or jumped out off the screen to me. He just looked a lot better than every other offensive lineman I've watched. There's just something about him. I don't know if it's the way he moves or whatever it is, but he just looks a lot better than everybody else, and he's very consistent. I probably watched about 4 full games of him. I saw him get beat twice maybe. Didn't even allow a sack, though. He got beat outside maybe 1 or 2 times and didn't allow a sack, and his run blocking was phenomenal as well. People want to say oh, this could be Eric Flowers all over again, but I personally do not see that at all. I think Andrew Thomas will be a phenomenal pick at number 4. You talk about positional value. Left tackle is very important. We should know that by now. Our current quarterback, Daniel Jones, has a bit of a fumbling issue. I hope he fixes that on his own, but if you give him a really good left tackle, that can only help the problem. So for me right now, on February 24th, it's Andrew Thomas, number 4 overall. Round 2 and pick number 36 overall is Trevon Diggs, the cornerback from Alabama. He's 6'2", 205, very long arms, very lanky guy. He's physical. PFF gave him a 90.1 grade in coverage. I mean, some of you don't like PFF, but as I always say, they watch every snap of these guys. I don't. I don't have that time, unfortunately. I do have to focus on school. I wish I can sit down and watch college prospects all day, but unfortunately, I don't have that time. It would be cool, though. Played wide receiver early on, I think, when he first got to college. His brother's actually Stephon Diggs. I wrote some good football genes on the bottom there, so his brother is the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver. He probably would play outside corner. I don't see him being a nickel or slot corner, but look, the Giants need an outside corner. I mean, if Sam Beal or DeAndre Baker slip up next year, which is very possible for one of them at least to do so, maybe even both, and the Giants will be pretty thin at cornerback, and you guys could probably argue in the comments saying, oh, we don't need a cornerback in a second round, we have a bunch of guys. Well, no, I'm not really looking at it the same way. I mean, you can never have too many cornerbacks in the NFL. I mean, I'll say that all the time. It doesn't matter who you have. You can never have too many of these guys because, look, cornerbacks get injured. We have young guys. Sam Beal has an injury history. DeAndre Baker had a pretty rough rookie season, a very rocky one, to say the least. And look, if those guys, if Beal gets hurt next year and DeAndre Baker looks even worse in year 2, which I don't think will happen, but you kind of have to, kind of think the different way sometimes. If he gets worse in year 2, then who's playing cornerback for this team? We're just going to call Corey Ballantyne to play outside corner? No, I don't want that to happen. I think Trevon Diggs has a lot of good qualities about him. And look, you can say there's some concerns about his speed and whatnot. Might run a 4.6. I'm very curious to see what his 40 time would be. But as I say, with guys like him, I said this for safety. I think I said this for Justin Simmons for the Broncos safety in a previous video. when you're this tall and this lanky, he's 6'2" and has these very, very long arms, great wingspan. Doesn't matter if you're a tiny bit slower than other people, because as long as he still has the technique, which I do think he does in coverage, then he should be fine. I mean, of course, yes, you would love to have your corners run a 4-3, 4-4, but I'd rather take the good technique and the better football player over the guy with the physical tools and just the athletic skills. You know what I mean? So give me the better football player, and I think on the board, Trevon Diggs would be one of the best guys available. Some other picks and good options here. I think Julian Okwara from Notre Dame, Romeo Okwara's younger brother, used to play for the Giants, but they cut him and now is on the Lions. Tyler Biadasz, who I talked about at center in my center video, probably, a couple weeks ago, I talked about him. Giants definitely need a center next year. Cam Dantzler, another cornerback from Mississippi State who I like, so that's definitely another option. And Terrell Lewis from Alabama, the outside linebacker. I mean, Terrell Lewis is he's just your prototypical outside linebacker, but for some reason did not produce well in college. I mean, the guy's definitely has some injuries. I think tore his ACL and maybe had another injury in there as well. So, I mean, look, there's a lot of options here, and this is not the only, I'm not saying these are the only 5 guys they can pick, obviously, but for me personally, I think Trevon Diggs might be on the board there, and I would definitely be thrilled if the Giants took him at number 36 overall. So round 3 is a comp pick. The Giants don't own their own third-round pick, obviously, due to the Leonard Williams trade. We should know that by now. So this pick will be at the end of the third round. I don't know exactly which pick it is yet. That information has not come out, but it will soon, so we'll see exactly which pick it is. But the pick I have here is Adam Trautman from Dayton, the tight end. So I personally am not sure where he's going in the draft. I mean, he can go anywhere from round 1 to round 4, I feel like. So round 3 might be pushing it a bit, but nobody knows right now where these guys are going in the draft. I'm sure I'll get some person in the comments saying, oh, there's no way Adam Trautman's going in the 3rd round. But look, we never know. So, I mean, we don't know these things. So people might look at Trautman and say, yeah, he played at a small school for college football, so therefore we don't know if he can translate to the NFL. But honestly, when watching him, I like a lot of things about him. He's 6'5", 250. Walter Football hasn't projected a round 3 to 5 pick, so I think round 3 might be, I guess, average for that. He's an underrated blocker. People don't talk about that too much. When you put on his film, it's just, making a bunch of crazy catches, which is nice. Has tremendous upside. If there's one tight end in this draft that can turn into the next George Kittle, Travis Kelce type guy, it definitely could be Adam Trautman. He's great on jump balls. His entire highlight reel is basically just him jumping over these, defenders that have no chance on jump balls with him. He can play some outside receiver if they need him to. He definitely lined up there when he was playing at Dayton. And, as I said before, 3rd round could be wishful thinking and did have the smaller school competition, which definitely helps him. But, I mean, look, it's possible he could be there. I really don't know. I wish the Giants had their own 3rd round pick because this would be a lot more likely. But if a team like even the Patriots in the end of the 1st round, they liked what they saw from Trautman in the combine and liked what he did in college, I can see him going in the 1st round, honestly. So I have no idea. Sitting here in late February, I don't know where these guys are going to go. Sometimes we get a better feel for it leading up to the draft, but 2 months away, I personally don't know where Adam Trautman's going to go. But with Evan Engram and his injuries, I mean, there's been some pictures of him on social media still in a walking boot, so that's a concern. They have Caden Smith, who was basically a free agent at one point. The Giants brought in a former 5th round pick, and he played great the last quarter of the year or so when Engram was out, but I don't know if he can count on a guy like that for the full 16 games. I hope so, but Evan Engram's a guy who honestly could be traded. We don't know at this point yet. The Giants might make a trade for Engram, and maybe Gettleman tries to get his 3rd round pick back. So picking a tight end with major upside like Adam Trautman might be a tremendous pick. I watched some interviews with this guy. Seems like he has his head on straight. Seems like a good kid. So, I mean, I guess I can call him a kid. I'm probably a bit older than him anyway. So, it is weird to say, but it's true. But, yeah, I'd be very thrilled with this pick. I think taking a tight end with a ton of upside like this in the 3rd round, back of the 3rd round, would definitely be a pick that's worth it. And if he turns into the next George Kittle, Travis Kelce type, or even 3/4 of that, I think that'd be a great pick and a great value pick at the end of the 3rd round. So round 4 and pick number 100 overall, which should be close to Adam Trautman's pick because the end of the 3rd round and early 4th, I guess, are somewhat close. So these guys might be 10 picks away from each other. This time I have them going outside linebacker Kenny Willekes from Michigan State. Honestly, when I watched him for the first time, I just was in love with the motor he had, and honestly, it reminded me a lot of Marcus Golden. I know a lot of times when we're making sports comparisons, we like to put guys with the same skin color for some reason. Like if there's a fast African-American wide receiver, people are just like, that's the next Deshaun Jackson right there. Or if you see like a good white tight end, which is something I just did 2 minutes ago, you're like, oh, that's the next Travis Kelce or George Kittle, which I did it 2 minutes ago, I'll admit it. But this guy reminds me of Marcus Golden. I mean, look, I watched Marcus Golden this entire season, obviously, and then I watched his highlights for the Cardinals the previous years, and honestly, I loved his motor. And Marcus Golden's not a guy who's going to have like these great finesse moves and great pass rushing moves, but his motor is just so great and honestly can outwork the guys at tackle that are trying to defend him. So that's what I saw from Kenny Willekes a lot. He's 6'3", 250 pounds, was a walk-on at Michigan State. They weren't sure what he was going to be. They weren't sure if he's going to be a fullback, a linebacker, or whatever. They were trying to make him a tight end maybe at one point, but then they decided outside linebacker was the best move for him. His sacks went up every season, so you can see him improving every year. Definitely had his best year in 2018, but took a slight step back in 2019, but still overall had a good year. I think he'll be a good special teams player at the least, so that you're getting somebody there, a guy who is a good tackler and brings a lot of good energy. 10 sacks in 2019, had 15.5 tackles for a loss in 2019. I think he had over 20 tackles for a loss in 2018, which is very impressive, so I love seeing that. Very quick first step and decent explosiveness, so he's usually one of the first guys off the line. There weren't too many guys on Michigan State's defense that were like phenomenal, but Kenny Willekes, from last year was actually pretty good. I know he took a step back a little bit, but he's the type of guy that would fit in on a defense where hopefully it's Yannick Ngakoue for the right price, and then you have O'Shea Zimenez, and you have Lorenzo Carter as well, so he would be the fourth guy technically if my offseason plan goes correctly. But, the Giants, just like cornerback, you can never have too many outside linebackers. If somebody goes down, you put Willekes in there and hopefully he can get to the quarterback. Maybe he's a situational pass rusher to start out his career, but maybe he surprises us and is a complete, 3-down player. So other good options here, I had them listed the same for Adam Troutman, but Troy Pride from Notre Dame, the cornerback, super fast player, pretty good in coverage as well. Neville Gallimore, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma. I don't know when he's supposed to go. I think he's kind of like a second or third round pick type of guy, so maybe fourth round's pushing it, but he looked very explosive when I watched him. Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, the center, I liked him. He's not great at anything, but he's solid, and the Giants need a center. And Tyler Johnson from Minnesota, someone that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, but we'll get to wide receiver later because I had the Giants taking a wide receiver that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, so we'll get to that later. But I would be pretty happy with Willekes. You could take guys with probably higher upside than him, but I think Willekes is a sure thing. You probably know what you're going to get. In his prime, he'll probably get around maybe 6 to 8 sacks per season and just be an average player, but it's round 4, so you can't really expect to get a first-round talent type of guy here. But if the Giants wanted to shoot for more upside here in the 4th round, I would not be against it. I am all for trying to get players with good upside, and that's definitely what I was aiming for later in this draft. But round 4 is kind of like, it's not really a day 1 type of guy, but you also want your round 4 pick to be someone that you can rely on in his first year. So I don't know if they'll go this route, but honestly, if they take Willekes, I'd be pretty satisfied with it, and seeing him get better every single year is definitely encouraging as well. To the 5th round, pick 132 overall. This guy is one of the biggest wild cards in this draft. I have no clue where he's going. If he went in the back of the 1st, would not shock me. If he went in like the 6th round, would not shock me. I have no idea where NFL teams stand on this guy. Netane Muti, the guard from Fresno State, plays in tackle as well. But this guy has some big medical concerns and big red flags. But as I said like 5 minutes ago, when you get to like the 5th, 6th, 7th round area, I am all for taking shots on guys with big upside. I don't care if there's off-the-field issues, whether there's previous injuries or character concerns, whatever it is. There are guys that if you get them in the later rounds and they fix up, whatever's going on with them personally, or if they, for some reason had some bad injury luck in college, you can get a good player at a discount, and this might be an example of one right here. So he's 6'3", 307, had 2 Achilles tears, a Liz Frank foot injury, played 6 total games in 2018 and 19, so that's definitely a red flag right there. Did play some tackle position as well. His tape was unbelievable, I think, from his first year. The year he played 13 games, his first full season in college, he had some amazing highlights. I mean, if you watch his highlights, I'll put them in here. There's plays where he's just pushing guys on the ground, and then they try to get up and he still jumps on them. It's unbelievable, the motor this guy has, and he's just so feisty and competitive. I loved it. The type of nastiness you'd like to see from your offensive lineman. We think Will Hernandez is nasty, but this guy brings it to another level. So, look, round 5, I'm not sure if he's going to be there, but if he is there, I say, look, it's round 5, just take a shot. Why not? Has major upside. He's somewhat new to football because I don't think he started playing football until 2008, and I don't know how old he would have been at that point, maybe like, I'm trying to guess, like maybe 9-10 years old at that point. So, I mean, you know, I think his family moved from somewhere, then he like moved somewhere in North America, and then they started playing football for the first time at, you know, somewhat of an older age. So he played all games in 2017, as I mentioned. He's very powerful, very strong, and honestly, if he's healthy, can be one of the best guards in this class. I mean, you have some people that rank the draft, you know, putting him in like the second, third round. Then you have some people, I looked at Walter Football for where they had him going. They had him going in the 6th round or undrafted free agent, which is kind of crazy. So there's a lot of like variance for where he can go. I personally believe that the medical records are good and he looks good in the combine. I think he could be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, but this is me hoping he falls to round 5. And if the Giants don't take him in round 5, if he's still on the board, I will be very disappointed by that. I understand they have Will Hernandez and Kevin Zeitler, guys that are considered, you know, pretty good guards. I mean, Kevin Zeitler's better, but Will Hernandez is still pretty young. But why not take a shot on Netane Muti? It makes no sense, you know, why you shouldn't do that. I think he's the type of guy that, if he's healthy, can be a tremendous guard in the NFL. Once you guys watch his highlights, you'll probably fall in love as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy those. Some other options, once again, Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. I also added Brian Edwards, the wide receiver from South Carolina, a pretty big guy. I watched his tape. I liked him. So for me personally, I think Muti would be a fantastic pick. It is the 5th round. I know there's a lot of red flags, injury concerns, but believe me, when this guy's healthy, he's a phenomenal player, and for round 5, I would take that risk. So the last pick we're doing here is number 165 overall from round 6, and the Giants do have 3 7th-round picks as well, so this is not the last actual pick. Denzel Mims, a wide receiver from Baylor. Another person that in some mock drafts you might see in the middle of the draft, maybe even 3rd round, 4th round, but once again, Walter Football, which is where I've been going off of because at least they have their projected rounds next to the guy's name. They have him going pretty late. I think he's another guy like 6th round / undrafted, so I really don't know where he's going to go. I don't know why people are sleeping on him because when I watched his tape, I was like, wow, this guy's better than a lot of receivers that are projected to go in front of him. So for me, I feel like taking him round 6 would be a nice pick. So he's 6'2", 205, a pretty big receiver, 6'2". He's not like a 6'5 type of guy or a 6'6 like a Colin Johnson or a Chase Claypool type of guy, but at the same time, still a pretty big body guy and knows how to use his body to box out the smaller cornerbacks. Definitely watching his tape, I've noticed that. So had over 1,000 yards last year, had 12 touchdowns in 2019, solid production in 2017, 18, and 19. Believe had over 1,000 yards in 2017 as well. Had like 800 in 2018, so he's been consistent the last 3 years. He's one of those guys that just makes everything look easy. There were some plays where he just made great catches, like all hands catches, wasn't even using his body, but just made it all look easy. Very natural on slant catches and stuff like that. His yards after catch looked very good as well. He's somewhat elusive, the type of guy that can make corners and safeties miss and gain extra yards. You love seeing that. And look, the Giants hit on the late receiver last year. I forget what round exactly Slayton was, but I think Darius Slayton was 5 or 6. So if the Giants can once again hit on a wide receiver, especially in this class, because this class, I'm sure you guys know by now, very deep for wide receivers, so you can wait on one, and hopefully a guy like Denzel Mims gets overlooked by a lot of other teams, and the Giants can swoop in late and take him. That would be great. He ran all types of routes at Baylor. I mean, that's definitely kind of a stupid thing to say, you might be saying to yourself, but for some college offenses, they only run like the same 4 or 5 routes, but I noticed that Baylor, Denzel Mims is running basically every type of route there is, so I like seeing that. He showed he's capable of doing that. Has good balance. I noticed that a lot. People trying to tackle him, was able to stay on his feet through contact. Has solid hands, as I mentioned before. Played mostly outside receiver. The Giants, I mean, they have 2 slot receivers right now with Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard. I know they want to put Shepard on the outside, but that's not really his natural position. They have Darius Slayton on the outside, so maybe Denzel Mims plays outside receiver behind him. I'm not really sure, but, you know, once again, I mean, the Giants right now, they're in a position where they have Cody Latimer, who's an upcoming free agent. Corey Coleman's a free agent as well, so I don't know if they're going to bring these guys back or not. I'm pretty sure Russell Shepard's going to be gone. I feel like they cut some other receiver. Benny Fowler, I think got cut in the middle of the year, so they have, maybe 1 or 2 spots open at wide receiver right now. Has a very high ceiling in my mind, and you got to watch out for Matt Rule and the Panthers, because obviously Matt Rule coached this guy at Baylor, probably knows a lot about him, more than most NFL coaches, so I could see Matt Rule taking him for the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers, they have pretty good receivers for the most part with Samuel and DJ Moore, but I don't even know who's behind those guys, so I guess they might have a wide receiver 3 spot open. I'm not really sure, but I could see that happening. But if he did fall to round 6 and the Giants took him there, that'd be another great pick in my mind. There's a very high ceiling, so I would love to see that. So I didn't really put any other options here because it's the 6th round and I have no idea who's going to be left at this point, but that's pretty much all I got. I mean, as I said before, this is definitely subject to change because it's only late February at this point, so this, definitely won't be the final mock draft, but this gives me a good foundation of where I want to go this draft. Let me know if you like the position groups I was picking. I'm really all for going best player available, and notice how I wasn't trying to just go after like centers and inside linebackers and stuff like that. I was trying to pick the guys that I thought would be best available. So some of you might have a problem with going offensive tackle in the 1st round or going cornerback in the 2nd round, which I get, but at the same time I want to pick a guy or pick the guys that are going to be good players in my mind. So hopefully you understand my point of view there. So let me know in the comments who you want in the later rounds. I mean, I basically know everybody in the first 2 rounds or so, but let me know your favorite day 2, day 3 guys, prospects that I should be watching, some sleeper picks and stuff like that. I'm interested to see who you guys have picked out, and I would love to see that. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.